Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I empathize with you because when you're expecting the Nnabagereka and you get a Maria Nassali, there is a bit of frustration. I work with the Nnabagereka, but every day or every time I'm going to meet with the Nnabagereka, for me, it is a function. In my household, they ask me, where are you going? And I tell them, I'm going to see Mama Nnabagereka. So I am dressing up as if I'm going to see her for the first time. Believe me, Mama wanted to be here with you. It is a theme that is dear to her because she is the first working queen. She didn't have to. She has the royal kingdom of Buganda at her service. But she chose to work because she realized that it gave her a platform to connect and, in a way, improve the lives of ordinary men, women, and children. And I believe that is what you're also dedicated to. So she represents a common goal, a common thrive, and as resonates with the theme of this gathering, the willingness to continuously give, not because you have, but because you care. Now allow me to read Her Royal Highness's speech. She invested a lot of time because she wanted you to understand that even if she was absent, she's dearly connected to you. Please forgive her for not sharing this cherished moment with you, but listen to her words of encouragement dearly. So I read her speech. She thanks you, Dr. Isoba and Ms. Jackie Simwe, for extending this invitation. Within the midst, I would like to recognize the presence of, for us to call him Dr. Kamlegia Francis, who's a member of the Nnabagereka Nagginda Women's Fund. We have the private secretary, Ms. Juliet Senteza, and we have Debbie Luwaga. Thank you for filling the void of the Nnabagereka's presence today. It is truly my pleasure. Okay, let me start from the beginning. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a good afternoon. I bring you warm greetings from Her Royal Highness Sylvia Nagginda, the Nnabagereka of Buganda, whom I represent today, and below is her keynote address. It is truly her pleasure and honor to be speaking at the annual Philanthropy Symposium 2025 with the theme Celebrating and Reclaiming Giving, centering local philanthropy in Uganda. As we reflect on the meaning and future of philanthropy in Uganda, I thank the Uganda NGO Forum and Civic Source Africa for their vision and commitment, and for inviting Her Royal Highness to share in this conversation. Under this theme, she was requested to address Reclaiming Our Traditions of Generosity, a political, cultural, and moral imperative. She finds this conference theme very urgent because she believes that we cannot speak of Ugandan's development nor of her dignity without speaking of the generous spirit of our communities. And not just generosity in the abstract, but generosity as we have always known it, a rooted, embodied, and everyday practice of giving, caring, sharing, and building together. One of the greatest gifts of our culture is our commitment to teaching Ennono, the foundation values that ground us, guide us, and make our way of life sustainable. Growing up in Buganda, in Uganda, or Africa at large, one never had to be taught to give. One saw it, one lived it. It was the way the mothers kept extra food in their pots in case a neighbor arrived. It was the way the fathers paid school fees for children on their own. It is in the way that if a family slaughtered a cow, goat, sheep, they would share the meat with the neighbors and strangers. It is in the way whole villages would rise up to rebuild a fallen house, bury the dead, celebrate the birth of a child, or gather to dig together. It was in the small things, in the unspoken commitments. We didn't call it philanthropy. It was simply life. Culture in itself contributed to a lot of human development, and by extension, culture can counteract the worrisome developments that we are witnessing. It further gives us connection to social values, beliefs, and traditions. Let me illustrate Her Royal Highness's point of using the case of Buganda Kingdom, where the Kikanda culture has the ethos of ubuntu bulamu, ubuntu for short, which simply translates as humanness, civility, and embraces the spirit of community, kindness, generosity, compassion, courtesy, dignity, respect, humility, and concern, among others. Ubuntu bulamu serves as the connecting thread between people and reminds us that despite our differences, we need one another to develop, and we do better and live better when we are civil, honest, respectful, and supportive of one another. Amidst the fast-changing world, fundamental concepts such as kabakaship, the clan system, and ubuntu bulamu have survived and continue to survive and to thrive. The kabakaship has continued to enjoy massive popular native legitimacy and has been used to guide and rally the people of Buganda and friends of Buganda to development. The Kabaka urges his people to engage in voluntary community work, Burungi Bwansi, by which they improve and maintain communal infrastructure and community sanitation. The Kabaka also urges people to fight poverty, to prevent malaria, and combat the spread of infectious diseases like HIV/AIDS, to send children to school, to protect the environment by planting trees, among others. When the Kabaka talks, or the Kabaka whispers, people mobilize themselves and contribute willingly with passions towards social causes. This year's theme aligns with the values of the Nnabagereka Development Foundation, which Her Royal Highness founded 27 years ago, The foundation is the vehicle through which she carries out her work with a vision to see equitable, inclusive, and peaceful world grounded in human values. For over 25 years, the foundation has supported numerous health, education, and community development initiatives. Its mission is to leverage culture to improve the economic and social well-being of children, youth, and women. The foundation believes in empowering the community, advocating for equality, and fostering sustainable development. The foundation combines the traditional value of ubuntu with the contemporary value system to promote moral, just, and most importantly, dignified societies. In order to achieve its objective, the foundation purposely ensures that the design and implementation of its development programs is informed by the voices that are rooted in culture. The aim is to catalyze a sense of belonging and dignity of our people, and pride in being the custodian of the rich Buganda Kingdom cultural heritage, which has made tremendous contribution to the socio-economic development and the creation of conducive and enabling environments in Uganda. The ubuntu philosophy reminds that we are deeply connected. A culture, a moral economy of mutuality. Ubuntu recognizes that no man or woman is an island. And because you are because I am, and therefore strives for cooperation for the collective good. In this value system, wealth was never just a private asset. It was a public trust. And a generous person was not someone who gave what they could spare, but someone who understood their place in the web of others. We do good by others, not to be praised or rewarded, but because at deep and almost spiritual level, we understand that we need each other to survive and thrive. That is the bedrock of generosity. That is the soul of philanthropy. It's not about wealth. It is about worth. It's not about giving because we have much, but because we recognize that we are much because of one another. In our ways, to give was not to show superiority. It was to show humility and honor of being part of a whole society, of being useful when somebody is in need. But today, Her Royal Highness worries that something sacred is slipping away. We live in a time where we have grown increasingly dependent on external forms of support, international aid, foreign foundation, and institutional grants. While many of these efforts have helped our communities and saved lives, they have also unintentionally shifted the center of gravity. We now look outwards for what we once found amongst ourselves. And with that shift, something in our cultural fiber is being frailed. We now speak of donors and recipients as if generosity is a transaction. We now rank giving by how big the check is or how visible the event is. And in doing so, we sometimes lose sight of the quiet power of everyday Ugandans, of that grandmother who raises grandchildren and still gives to the church, of the border rider who stops to push a stranger's broken bag, or for a youth group that pulls its pocket money to buy sanitary pads for schoolgirls. These are not acts of charity. They are acts of identity. They are acts of resistance of a world that tells us that we are poor and therefore dependent. But we're not poor in spirit. We're not poor in values. We are rich in community, and that is where our wealth truly lies. Through the foundation, we have mobilized resources and used to render support to key human development areas such as maternal mental health, community development, child education, public health, cultural preservation, poverty eradication through economic empowerment of women. She believes these are lessons and good practices in initiatives of this nature that can be replicated elsewhere in our country. At the center of the foundation, special attention is given to the well-being of children. Hence, the foundation also promotes the establishment of nurturing and stimulating environments for children where learning is promoted and their physical and emotional needs underlined, are acknowledged and satisfied. We do this primarily to encourage and propel intergenerational transfer of positive behaviors and attitude, knowledge, values, and life skills that are critical in child development, but also in happy societies. The success of our children's culture program, Nnabagereka Nnabagereka, the children's camp, draws on our past education traditions that promoted positive behavior, proper grooming, and human values in young people. Given the increasing decline in morals, standards, dignity, and the breaking or fracturing away of social cohesion in communities, we realized that there was a great need to mitigate these disturbing traits. It was therefore essential for the foundation to amplify and build on our inherited cultural traditions and values in order to restore communities and strengthen cohesion. Essentially, the Nnabagereka Nnabagereka has facilitated children to appreciate and embrace their own cultural identity and tradition, as well as respect for the different cultural identities and traditions. The Nnabagereka Nnabagereka does not impose the Buganda culture or non-Buganda. Rather, it encourages each culture to celebrate those ideals that are common as their culture, but then also appreciate the imperative of living with different peoples as a common people. The Nnabagereka's Foundation has trained and mentored thousands of children and also have reached millions through print, broadcast, and social media. During the course of the camps, children are able to build self-confidence, improve interpersonal skills, and develop a sense of responsibility. The trainers provide guidance, support, and encouragement, helping children navigate challenges to build resistance. In addition, children develop communication, leadership, problem solving, and critical thinking. One of the things, though, that disturbs me, every time we hold Nnabagereka Nnabagereka, children say that they have learned simple things, like greeting each other, like looking at each other and appreciate their different but equal in dignity. Those are things that they should have learned within the family setting. Some actually say they have learned how to bathe. Others say they have appreciated themselves. And you wonder, what happens to those children who do not have that opportunity? Further, the vocational skills exposes children to various career options and helps them explore their interests and passions. The trainers provide information into different vocations such as poetry, art making, art, crafts, culinary, and farming, and recently ICT. In 2022, the Nnabagereka founded the Nnabagereka Nagginda Women's Fund, an endowment fund to provide financial support to organizations and initiatives that focus on mental health awareness, education, advocacy, and treatment. The fund represents more than just a financial initiative. It symbolizes our dedication to securing the future and continuity of our organizations and the communities we serve, as well as fostering viability and maximizing impact. Through this endowment fund, we have the opportunity to address a multitude of pressing issues that affect our society today, so from supporting underprivileged communities to championing environmental conservation. We committed ourselves to building a better, more inclusive world for all. It serves as a pillar of stability that will provide a steady stream of resources which will empower us to weather storms, seize opportunities, and realize our vision to create sustainable social investment that will uplift and empower women, youth, and children across Uganda. Our endowment fund, the Nnabagereka Nagginda Women's Fund, is a homegrown solution with countrymen and women at its core. We are grateful to our delegates. These are prominent men and women in our country who have accepted to spearhead the mobilization of resources across the country. They are working and have produced good results. We are encouraged by their transformative power of compassion, understanding, and support. We are ever grateful to them. We work not just to respond to needs, but to awaken capacity. We should believe that development must begin with dignity. And dignity begins when people see themselves not as recipients of change, but as its authors. Indigenous philanthropy is not the work of the foundation, the fund, and other organizations alone. This is a national project for all Ugandans. It is a cultural and national project. It is a moral project. If we want to reclaim our tradition of generosity, we must teach our children that giving is not just something to do after success. We must create spaces in our media, our schools, our policies where local giving is recognized, supported, and celebrated. We must challenge the notion that philanthropy is something by the wealthy or by those far away. In our context, the smallest gifts given from the heart is often the most transformative. The Nnabagereka believes that the political future of Uganda depends on this cultural reawakening. Because a society that gives together governs together, when we take responsibility for one another, we also begin to take responsibility for our country. We move from blame to action, from dependence to interdependence. Let us remember that before there were NGOs, there were clans. Before there were development agencies, there were communities. Before there were foreign donors, there were neighbors. If we lose that history, we lose more than a tradition, we lose our compass. And so, she invites each one of us to reflect on what it means to give. Not just what we give, but how and why and to whom. Let us revive ubuntu bulamu, not as a slogan, but as a lived ethic. Let us raise a generation that sees generosity not as an obligation, but as a joy. We do not need to invent philanthropy. We need only to remember it. Therefore, Uganda philanthropists should play their part by supporting existing and creation of new programs that integrate the positive elements of culture and use positive cultural voices to appeal to people's solicitous senses. This is the prerequisite for creating a conducive environment in the pursuit and attainment of progress and sustainable development. Thank you for listening to the Nnabagereka speech. I enjoyed reading it.
Buganda chabada na fe tuchikumu